time now for John Clarke and Bryan Dawe tackling a very sensitive issue.
Mr Rudd, thanks for your time tonight.
It's very good to be with you, Brian, and good evening.
Prime Minister, we seem to have a problem with racism, don't we?
We do. This is an intractable problem, Brian, and we really do have to do something about this. This is serious.
This is not a reputation we want, is it?
It's certainly not a reputation we or any other country wants, Brian. It's going to cost us a lot of money, and we've got to do...
Why does this keep coming up in Australia? I mean, are we a racist country?
Well, I wouldn't have thought, Brian, that Australians are racist. I don't think it's in the nature of Australians to be racist.
So who's been conducting these racist attacks?
Australians, yes, Brian.
Well,
I take your point. I suppose what I mean is that essentially, Brian, I don't regard us as a racist people.
What do you mean essentially?
Well, essentially, Brian, in essence, Brian, if you go back to the genesis of this country after it was colonised, in fact,
well,
if you don't do that...
No.
Pretend no.
Must it not be there essentially in order to come out like this?
I suppose it must be there essentially, Brian, and potentially...
So we are essentially
racist.
Well,
I suppose all cultures potentially have the capacity to be racist.
But I would have thought this country was rooted in racism.
This country's not rooted at all, Brian. I don't know whether you saw the figures this week. This country's going pretty well. Wayne's done a wonderful job. The country's not even close to being rooted.
If we can go back to racism, this is a pretty important issue in terms of what we stand to lose here, isn't it?
Oh, terribly important. Let's make no mistake about that, Brian. Education is a very major export earner for this country, and if people, foreign students, are not going to come here, Brian, because they feel they're not safe...
We might have to educate ourselves.
Well, my point, Brian, I suppose, is that we'll have to have a look at our priorities as a nation.
Why do you think racism keeps rearing its ugly head here?
Well, it's a hardy perennial, Brian, and it needs to be very hard to eradicate. It is always present, yes.
And people use it?
People do. People can appeal to racism very easily. It's the lowest common denominator issue, Brian. In Australian politics, you don't have to go back very far.
No, the White Australia policy.
I was thinking perhaps more recently than the White Australia policy.
The apology?
Between the White Australia policy and the apology.
Economic prosperity.
No, Brian, you are failing to grasp my point. I suppose the point is, Brian, this is a serious problem. To take what you're saying, you're right, and we do have to do something about it.
We have developed an unfortunate reputation. Well, what are we going to do about it, Prime
Well, we're
Minister?
going to fix it, Brian.
Well, how are you going to do that?
We're going to build infrastructure.
Well, find out where racism is.
Find out where the racism is, Brian, and put in a railway station and some school buildings.
Railway station and schools?
Yes.
Well,
yes, that's what...
Will that help?
Well, it'll help Wayne, Brian.
Oh, well, that's worthy.
We've got to start somewhere.
Thank you.